All right, this one's actually a direct one, again, a Facebook one. What's an example of a technique or tactic that you changed due to lessons learned in combat? That's actually a fantastic question based on some of the things that we've been talking about already.
Well, right. I think that goes back.
It almost goes back to that everything
me,
answer.
Yeah.
But if you could put your finger on one, I guess, because it says what's an example, one example of a tactic or technique that you changed due to lessons learned in combat, what would it be?
I would say that, you know, with training and tactics and techniques, because of the conservative nature of law enforcement organizations or the military, like, you know, you don't get to have, you know, cool boots or haircuts or clothes or whatever. You have to stay in very, you know, narrow left and right limits. That a lot of guys will endorse range techniques that they see on social media that they think are cool, and they'll actually change up something that works for something that doesn't work. They're like,
but looks better.
Yeah, but looks better. Like they'll do
Right.
the opposite, you know.
You're talking to military training?
I would say, like, you know, just this.
I think it bleeds over.
Yeah, like
I
the
think
younger
it bleeds
generation
over.
of guys, like a lot of the guys that are like E5s or even E6s that will be sergeant majors in 10 years, or in law enforcement, the younger guys that'll be sergeants. You know, they default to social media and what looks cool, not the guy down the hallway in their team room that has experience. So we'll see it go the reverse, where someone will take something that's solid for something that's inferior. You guys know what the temple index is, where dudes are told to put the gun up against their head?
I didn't until like 2 or 3 months ago.
What we're starting to see is guys are being taught that this right here is a ready technique that they can use inside of a vehicle because it places the gun in a safe direction. Now, yes, by pushing the gun up against your face, like it's a Zach Morris telephone from Saved by the Bell, does put it in a safe direction. But it removes you from the fight. That's like a thing where like guys will they'll go away from something that works and they'll argue from the point of like, well, it's situation dependent, bro. It's like, no, what it really is like, you know, that person is weak weapons manipulations handling. Right. That's the real issue. It's like, no, but I'm so safe. Like, well, you're not really though.
And nor is it ergonomic.
Yeah,
nor is it. Yeah, there's so many things. It violates biometrics. Mm-hmm. It's lots of arguments. There's lots of arguments.
But the internets will tell you like, nah, bro, this is like the new thing. Like, that's not really how it works. So I mean, I would argue that there's so many people on the internet right now that are just like, hey man, I've taken this many courses. Like, all right, cool, that's cool.
Right on, dude.
But what it gets to is like, you know, guys will, it's a two-way street with like, they'll sacrifice what does work for what, you know, doesn't work because they just want to be the new kid on the block.
Or to just have something new.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
But the question was
something that you do that you've changed because
that you changed due to a true combat lesson.
Yes, right.
Due to a true combat lesson.
And to me, it just goes straight back to once it actually happened. Absolutely, back to the basics. Yeah.
Well,
there's no secret. You know,
there really isn't.
Well, so like high ready versus low ready. This like hurt the CQB community forever. Like, you know, we're not doing high ready because the SEALs do it. You know, or like we're not doing high ready because you get smoked in the catwalk in the shoot house. Like, well, maybe you should bring the instructors back. But we found
or don't shoot up at the catwalk.
Yeah.
There's
or
a novel,
don't
there's,
ND
there's a novel
with a gun.
concept. Yeah. Especially when I'm up there. Please.
Yeah.
So are you saying you like the high ready?
I think that for what it is, it was not, it was argued for and against for the wrong reasons. Like, I know SF was slow to even validate it or try it because, like, that's what the SEALs do. We're not the SEALs. And I was like, okay, well, let's look past that because maybe there's guys.
They looked at the social aspect instead of the professional or the tactical aspect of it.
I agree. Then what happened is that argument went off in one direction, but then there's the guys that are like, hey, maybe, you know, high carry with a carbine does have application, but some of those guys kind of went off in a weird direction to where, like, I mean, you'll see dudes like everyone running around with their carbine and a high carry. It's kind of like, maybe you don't need to like necessarily do it that way. Right. So it's like there wasn't the real discussion taking place where both parties were really objectively looking at it, and it was just like you're either in one camp or you're in the other.
I think that's how it'll stay. I mean, 'cause I'm in one camp. But it's for, I mean, like, what do you guys think?
As am I. As am I.
I mean, so what's your reason?
Well, my reasoning is, pretty simple. I know one way. And I know that way works.
That's pretty much my
Is there a definitive reason to change? Is there a huge beneficial change? Do I benefit in tactics? Do I benefit in speed? Do I benefit in
when you're on the
safety?
flat range training, you do this,
Right.
and then no, you're lazy, right? So we're all down here. So this is how we train.
Yeah, carry a 203.
So why would I train like this?
I had to carry a
and
203.
then all of a sudden I
It's
go
really
into
hard
a
to
real
carry.
situation, I'm like this. Well, when I've done this for thousands of times. So
Exactly.
that's my.
And that's
I don't
my
think
thing,
there's
too.
anything wrong.
I don't think there's anything wrong
With
with it
the height-
either.
with the height.
I know why I stay with what I stay
So,
with.
yeah, I think-
It's because what I know and what I've trained and what I'm comfortable with and
Yeah,
how I perform best.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
No, I don't think there is either. But you're right. It's a social differentiation between that element, the SEAL element typically, and the other soft elements, the Rangers, the SF specifically, who stayed with a low ready carry. It doesn't. You're right. The argument doesn't make any sense
Yeah, because
because it's really the application that you should
If
talk
someone
about.
if someone could come up with a reason why not to do it and it made sense to me, I'd be the first
I'd be
one to be
like,
like, yep, I would never teach it. I would always say don't do it. But no one's ever been able to come up with it. You can still, if you go into a room and you have high ready, you can still butt stroke them. You know, people are always say, well, I can't get the gun down quick enough. Well, it's the same thing from here to here or here to here.
Down or up or down, yeah.
I think it goes to
Shooter choice is what it comes down to, I think.
Yeah.
is guys, the arguments aren't given the proper vetting, and then guys run with them regardless. And I think that's what we saw a lot was, we could see like, okay, there's legitimacy for doing it this way, but then what would happen is guys would just do it wrong, and now it evolves into this other thing that is nowhere near what the origin was.
Right.
It's like
It becomes
like,
What
it becomes
happens?
it becomes its own animal.
Yeah.
And you're right. It veers off the initial subject, which we probably constantly have been doing this whole time, veering off the initial subject.
We're at it right now. Yeah, so the whole what you take.
Change tactics. I'll give you one that I learned, and I didn't learn this until I started involving myself with police officers. Police officers used to wear shoulder mics, and they wear them up here. And they found that guys, because if you wear it on your shoulder, you can't really reach it with this hand. So if this is my firing arm, this is my firing hand. If I'm keying my mic, I've got to cross my whole body to get my weapon. The other thing is people have a tendency to turn into their mic to be able to be heard, and they now can no longer focus on the threat. So they started moving communications to their center line so they could be reached with either hand, and they could still maintain focus when they were trying to get to the mic. I learned that talking to police officers and working with police officers and teaching. And that's something I would have never considered because that didn't work in my world or our world because we're on headsets. We're either on throat mics, boom mics, bum mics, whatever it is, but it's all integrated with our headsets. I never have to focus or change. Now, where we put our PTT, I have always centered my PTT so I can access it with either hand. But because police officers work in a different way, and that's a tactic that changed because guys got hurt, in their combat, and I'm not saying that, police go through combat just like we do, it's just in a different form. They obviously have interactions and gunfights just like we do. But because they lost people and because people were getting hurt, you turn away from your adversary and he hits you or strikes you, and now you're in a different situation. You're at a disadvantage. I think things like that change, whether it's military combat like we go through, law enforcement interactions that they go through. I think every interaction with an adversary changes your perspective.
That is the baseline that validates something. So like I like the first time dudes started putting their pistols on their chest. Like I was like, oh, I'll try that. It looks cool. And then after a while, I was like, it's not really the best place for it, kind of a thing.
Right.
And that was just.
Well, that's what I was going to get into. For that, like what you learn, and we already hit on it, is just kit.
Yeah.
You
What
know,
works and what
when
doesn't.
when you go for your first time, you got the fucking kitchen sink.
I got chem lights
you know,
for my
like-
chem lights. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, so that was a huge lesson learned.
Yeah.
First time being over there, like, oh, I don't need this, or this.
Right. Or this is in the wrong position. I can access it when I'm on the flat range, but can I access it when I'm sitting in a car? And that's that whole chest rig gun thing. That all came from, well, the driver needs to be accessible to his pistol, but he's driving. No, the driver needs to drive. And we figured that out. How many driving schools have you been into that says, if you're driving, your car is the weapon, you drive, you're not shooting, that's not your job. It's not your job. So, changing an entire area where you carry a weapon based on the fact that you might be driving in that one little no, that's not a good. Now, do you keep an extra holster there and you still carry normally, but if you find yourself in a driver's seat, move it? Okay, maybe. But where, muscle memory wise and training wise, are you going to reach to draw that pistol when you need it? It won't be your chest. It won't be your chest. So it's about tailoring training and carry and proficiency to the level that you're going to really operate at. And that's realism in training.
Which arguably should be the simplest level.
Agreed.
But not too simple, because that's stupid, but the simplest level.
So,
yes. That's where it goes back to me. I mean, I teach, I'm huge on basics.
Agreed.
But because of that,
Hashtag
just like what you
basics.
said.
Keller over here. Hashtag basics. Basics.